All right, so an MMA icon, an absolute legend of the game. I am talking about Wanderlei Silva was just knocked out in a boxing match in vicious, stunning fashion. And it wasn't even in the boxing match. He was cheating. He was being a dirty fighter. He was headbutting left, right, and center throughout the boxing match. Then he gets disqualified. Then it all kicks off. It's Sunday morning. I get out of bed. It's 7 a.m. I'm having my morning coffee. I look at my phone, and this was the sight that I saw. Check this out. Now, this is immediately after this boxing match. So I'll give you the details in a minute. As you can see here, there's Wanderlei. It's all going mental. Wanderlei's pushed back. He's got his boxing gloves on in a fist fight scenario. And then look at this here now. What? Boom! Uppercut down, out, cold. And he ain't moving. I mean, that is a bad knockout, and then the action still carries on. I say action, I mean the madness, the melee, the brawl, the violence, whatever you want to call it. That was, I mean, I was not expecting that. And then this angle of it here is even more gruesome, if you will. So, hold on, here's Wanderlei. Boom! Goes down there. Big shot. And I'll give you some context in a minute. So there he is. Wanderlei's down and out. Now Wanderlei Silva, look at that, he's getting dragged out by his arms. Unconscious like that. I mean, that's not a good look. And he's still out. Jesus. Let's just have another look at that. Oh, man. Nasty, really is. So Wanderlei Silva was competing in a boxing match against a former world champion from Brazil. Let's have a look right here because Yahoo here have the details. Acelino, Popo, Freitas. Okay, now if you saw leading up to this, Wanderlei Silva missed weight by a ridiculous amount. I saw reports online that he missed weight by 40 pounds, okay? And if that wasn't bad enough, then he's headbutting the guy multiple times in the fight. Here, have a look at this. I mean, you can't blame his people or his crowd for being pissed off. Watch this here. Boom! I mean, that's as clear as day. That's a nasty headbutt. And that wasn't just one headbutt. There was multiple. There was a lot. So he was taking the piss. He was headbutting him several times. He missed weight by 20 pounds or 40 pounds, whichever one it is. I haven't been following Spartan Fight League too closely. But then also he wasn't paying attention to what the referee was saying. The referee disqualifies him, and then all hits the fan, as we saw. Now, this is quite the fall from grace. It really is. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and talk shit about Wanderlei Silva. Wanderlei Silva was someone that I was a huge fan of when I was growing up. When I first started watching mixed martial arts, I started watching Pride and UFC. At the same time, it was 2003 when I decided I was going to become an MMA fighter. I didn't know what Pride was. I didn't know what UFC was. Started consuming as much as I could. And I saw Wanderlei Silva and I thought, holy shit. This guy is awesome. Back in the day, in Pride FC days, I mean, this man was so exciting to watch. The Axe Murderer, just from the way that he started the fights like this to the all-out violence from himself and his whole team. Shooter Box from Curitiba, Brazil. There was Shogun, there was Wanderlei, Ninja. They were all nasty bastards, man. Lots of soccer kicks, lots of head stomps, lots of violence. But apparently the word on the street was that they weren't exactly the nicest guys. Now, these days, I'm sorry to say, I'm not the biggest fan of Wanderlei Silva because I've always had a strong stance against people that take steroids. And Wanderlei Silva, if you recall back in the day, his last fight in the UFC was, let's have a look here, we'll see it here. His last fight in the UFC was against Quinton Rampage Jackson, a rematch, and that was in Bellator. His last fight in the UFC was 2017 against Chael Sonnen. And the reason being for that is because he was going to get tested. USADA showed up, and if you remember the story, he literally sprinted and ran away from the test.
I can't let you get close.
Okay, and then he was suspended for those reasons, of course, and that was that. Now, I did share the Octagon with Wanderlei Silva, and there was a bit of shit talk leading up to it. Of course there was, you know what I mean? Wanderlei's that type of guy. I was that type of guy. We've got to try and make it spicy. And, of course, the people like we were when we were younger, you know, we're taking it seriously. It is personal. We are going to fight. You do think you can beat me, so we were talking a lot of shit. Now, if you ask me, I was robbed on the judges' scorecards. Let's have a look here. The fight went down in Sydney, Australia. There was fights last night in Perth, Australia, by the way, where Dominic Reyes was knocked out by Carlos Ulberg in the first round, and it was a bad knockout. Ulberg smoked him. I mean, smoked him, okay? It was a bad knockout, but not as bad as the one that we saw Wanderlei Silva just experienced in the boxing. I mean, that was a vicious knockout. Anyway, so I fought in 2010 against Wanderlei Silva, and it was the first time the UFC went to Australia. If you scroll down, there it is. February 2010. It was a close fight. I thought I won round 1. I thought I won round 2. I forget the exact details of it. He had a couple of moments here and there. Anyway, he got the decision. I was robbed on the scorecards, if you ask me. But anyway, then he was knocked out against Chris Lieben. Then he beats Kong Lee, finished him in the second round, goes to a decision against Rich Franklin and loses. Put on an absolute war against Brian Stann when the UFC were in Japan. It was a crazy fight, man. Brian Stann pretty much had that fight won. He chose to just stand there, bite down on his mouthpiece, and the pair of them were just slugging it out. What a fight that was. And of course, Brian Stann got knocked out cold. Then he loses to Chael Sonnen, and then he loses again to Quinton Rampage Jackson. So the man is a legend of the sport. He is an icon of the sport. He's a bit of a dickhead, if you ask me, because of the steroids. And then, of course, in this boxing fight, he kind of got what he deserved. So, obviously, there's two sides to every story. Fabrizio Verdum, he was there. He was in his corner, and he had a totally different account. But we saw it play out there. We saw Wanderlei Silva headbutting his opponent. He then gets disqualified, and all shit hits the fan. So, it was nasty, man. It was nasty to see that at 49 years old. I mean, if you look at his record again, Wanderlei Silva, 49, so no spring chicken. 35 wins, 14 losses, so 49 MMA fights, knocked out 7 times, 27 wins by knockout. And it's a shame. It is a shame to see someone like Wanderlei Silva, because if you scroll down, right down here on his record, there he is knocking out Rampage Jackson. That was a vicious knockout over Rampage. Yuki Kondo stomps Ikuhisa Minowa. Rampage again, Hidehiko Yoshida. I mean, the man was legendary. He really was. And as I say, he was one of my early inspirations. So to see him getting knocked out like that is really sad. At 49 years old, still stepping in the ring. And he looked pretty good. He didn't need to be headbutting. He didn't need to be cheating. Of course, he missed weight dramatically as well. So that's never good. And you might say that missing weight by that amount is cheating as well. But, it's kind of mixed emotions, because I never really liked the guy. Once I got to meet him, he wasn't someone that I was a fan of, shall we say. Because, you talk a lot of shit going into a fight. Typically, when the fight's over, you speak to the guy and everything's good. Like me and George St. Pierre, we talked a lot of shit. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. George St. Pierre is unbelievable. Anderson Silva, same thing, He tested positive for steroids, so I was talking a lot of shit at him. But afterwards, it was nothing but respect. Wanderlei Silva, I don't really feel that way. But even still, I didn't enjoy seeing a former MMA legend stepping in the boxing ring. Yeah, okay, he headbutted. Yeah, he cheated. Yeah, he missed weight. So he probably deserves it. But it was sad to see a former MMA icon getting knocked out like that so viciously in like a subpar boxing league at 49 years old. Anyway, I saw that this morning and felt compelled to do a little video on it. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the entire situation. If you know any more details as well, let me know about those in the comment section as well. Right, big week this week. Magomed Ankalaev Live taking on Alex Pereira. I'll be dropping a few videos. Subscribe, ring the bell. I'll do some members videos as well, because I'll be in Vegas all week. I'll fly there tomorrow. Thanks for watching. See you guys soon.